Hey, what's up, everybody? So you guys missed out on a fantastic conversation because I didn't let's play, but I was sitting up here just talking aloud, literally talking aloud. And the conversation I was having with myself was, who would I rather have, Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid? And to be honest with you, it just depends on how I wanted to play. It came down to this: Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis pretty much do the same things, but the problem is Joel Embiid is a bigger person than Anthony Davis. He's stronger, but it really comes down to this. For me, I would ultimately put Anthony Davis above Joel Embiid. Why? The championship ring. But how did the Lakers get the ring? The Lakers got the ring by having Anthony Davis fresh. Even though he had rolled his ankle, he wasn't asked to bang and play the center position where we'd have to do all types of rebounding and do all types of being the last line of defense, etc. type stuff. Dirty dog stuff that centers have to do in today's NBA, guarding the perimeter and still being able to run back inside and box out, like the Tristan Thompson type stuff. It's very, very, very taxing on the body. Anthony Davis didn't want to do all that. And we respect it. You don't want to bang. You don't want to run back and forth. You want to be able to shoot jumpers. You want to be able to do your thing, run, and ultimately win the championship, for which we were able to do. Why? Because we had Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard on the floor at the same time. And Dwight Howard, all the things that he does great, he was able to exploit when we needed it most. That's basically why we won the championship. Of course, LeBron James is thrown in there somewhere too, right? But in discussing Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid, we're just going to talk about those two players and focus on their positions in winning or not winning in this situation with Joel Embiid. But on the other end, I look at Joel Embiid and I say, well, obviously he can do just about everything Anthony Davis can do, and he can bang. Now, they both have injury issues, so they cancel each other out, in my opinion. I'm not going to think too much about durability in this conversation. But what I will say is, because Anthony Davis was able to coexist with a big on the floor who was able to do all those things that he didn't want to do, Joel Embiid is somebody who's going to, on the other hand, have to play the center position and do all of those things. Taxing on the body can kind of mean that he's probably not as fresh as a guy like Anthony Davis down the stretch of a playoff game after a long season of doing that 40 plus minutes a game and banging and running back and forth like Tristan Thompson, that kind of stuff. Plus, we all know that they both like to shoot jumpers, but Anthony Davis is able to shoot jumpers more naturally in a way that makes sense for the basketball floor, as opposed to Joel Embiid, who gets criticized for shooting jumpers because he's a center and they need him in the paint doing all that stuff I was talking about. So if I go back to the situation at hand and I look at Anthony Davis, I say, well, we had Dwight Howard on the floor, and Dwight Howard, guess where he plays right now? He plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think Doc Rivers should try to see if Joel Embiid can run some sets with Dwight Howard on the floor. It worked for the Lakers. And honestly, the reason why I look at the Philadelphia 76ers and say that they have a really, really good chance of being better than the Denver Nuggets, because I really thought about that after listening to myself say it in the last video. So I wasn't sure about that. But it really came down to this. It had nothing to do with those bigs. It had to do with those two defenders that are absolutely and utterly going to dominate any guards they put in front of them. Matisse Thybulle, said it with a lisp, and Ben Simmons, two of the best defenders in all of basketball. I think Matisse Thybulle could be the best defender in all of basketball someday, honestly. On-ball defender, he's like a young Shane Battier, but better. He reminds me of Bruce Bowen. He reminds me of one of like those hound dog defenders that are just absolutely and utterly going to focus on that end and that end only. And you know, a Tony Allen type guy. He's this era version of that. And I've seen guys like that have so much success in the playoffs. Look out for him. He's going to be dangerous if he gets real playing time. And he's shown that he deserves it. I mean, he's going to have to get better offensively. We know that. All of those guys were able to be competent on the offensive end by the time it was time for them to win. So he's going to have to really, really continue to work on that side of the game. But defensively, he's got stuff you don't teach. He has effort you don't teach, and it translates to the stat sheet. So I think if you put him on like a Murray, if you put him on Porter, you throw him at Gordon, he can really cause problems for a team like the Denver Nuggets. He can cause problems for the Los Angeles Lakers. He can cause problems for any team that comes out of the West. If Philadelphia is able to do the impossible, I think it's going to be because of both Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle locking up guards. And I tell you, the Nets are going to have to deal with them dudes. I know they have guys that can cook them. I know that. But they got real defenders. You just got to play them. And they got some guys on the back of that bench like Maxey. I keep talking about these guys. Shake Milton. Play them too. You gotta find a way to play all these people. That's why I think they should have made some trades. Maybe let go of some of those guys to condense their roster just a little bit. But I understand the importance of depth. But it's like some of those guys are not as productive as they need to be because they don't get the consistency in minutes. And then you got a guy like Thibault who may not be able to make the floor because you need to continue to play those guys. It's like you just are in a conundrum. But Doc Rivers is a great coach, but it's just some of these guys you're just not going to be able to get the most out of, and that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, this video started off talking about AD and Joel Embiid. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, Joel Embiid is going to have to show me that he can play the power forward position with a Dwight Howard and win a championship for me to say that he's better than AD. That's what it really came down to. I know I'm all over the place, and I think that's a good thing because I touched on a lot of stuff in this conversation that I think is going to come rear its ugly head come playoff time, especially what I said about Ben Simmons and Thibault. Those two dudes are going to be ferocious defensively come playoff time. I guarantee you. I guarantee it. I don't know what's going on with the Philadelphia 76ers right now. I ain't paid attention to them at all. But it has just occurred to me that when it really comes down to it, they have a defensive tandem that can cause problems for anyone. And a lot of us are not looking at it that way. We're just not. But Ben Simmons has turned into one of the great defenders in this league. And like I said, that Matisse dude he's different, man. Defensively, he's different. My name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you can follow all of that. I don't even know if I can follow all